gain the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference.
Hey, greetings and salutations, and welcome back. This is another edition of Rise, the multimedia magazine. I'm Reggie Smith, and this is my good friend Denise Stokes. She is not only an advocate and has been a real champion in the arena of HIV. You are the author of an upcoming new book called From the Crack House to the White House. And we want to talk a little bit about the recovery portion and maybe a little bit about what it was that caused you to look at crack as being a solution for whatever it was that you were going through, and then how you've gotten to where you are now.
Okay, well, I guess the first thing to be clear about is I don't think that anybody looks at crack as a solution.
Okay.
But you know, that's important to talk about because a lot of people who don't have personal experience or up-close family experience with someone who's an addict or in recovery, there's this misconception that somehow these were very clear choices that were made. Nobody wakes up and says, I want to be a crackhead. I want to be an alcoholic. Right. I like that spot under the bridge. I claim it. Nobody does that.
Right.
It's a series of bad choices that are made, for me, that were made out of wanting to feel an absence of pain. Okay. So not having tools for living, not having an understanding of myself, not having a process to deal with emotions, to accept things, to learn where I fit in, to have that inside esteem that said you are, and then I was never able to fill in the blank. And so drinking, which I abused from the beginning.
Really?
Yes.
Which was, the beginning was?
It was, the beginning, I had nipped and tipped like many, you know.
That little baby Denise. Denise?
No, it wasn't me. But I actually remember my first real memorable experience with alcohol was when the day I got diagnosed with HIV.
Really?
I'd gone into the military entrance processing station because they called me back. I was trying to go into the military, and they called me in, and I went, and I was told, basically, in a nutshell, you have AIDS. You're going to die before you're 21.
Right.
And I remember my response to that was silence, and when I got home, I opened a bottle of my stepfather's tequila, and I drank it to the worm.
Wow.
And it was a long journey down from there. But I remember from that point, even though it happened sporadically at first, I just remember from that point that being my go-to.
Okay.
And whatever I was feeling, I tried to drink it away, and then someone showed me how to sniff a line, and I tried to sniff it away, and then someone had pretty smoke in a glass thing, and I thought, what's that?
Right.
You know, just really being lost, not just externally, but internally.
Yeah, I think the thing there is just trying to wake me up when it's over. Kind of a, you know, for me, in addiction, it was about I'd just as soon die, but I'm too punk to kill myself. So let me just kind of still my mind.
Yeah, I just kind of floated. I let life take me where it would, and visit.
This might sound like kind of a crazy question. So, did you have any spiritual awakenings when you were getting high?
I felt like I was disconnected from everything. I felt like I was watching life happen and I wasn't a part of it, but there were moments when I was so painfully aware of what my life was and where I was, that I couldn't stand it. It was like everything being on fire at once. But then I also remember in moments of clarity just knowing that no matter what, you have to write. So I would literally be in crack houses finding bits of paper and something to write with, because there was still, you know, even with all the stuff I was putting on top of it, there was still something inside that I felt needed to come out. And I just remember beginning to have vague thoughts that I want to live before I die. Wow. I just wasn't sure how to do that.
Did you ever have that epiphany where you felt like God has got something for you, but the mind didn't want to let you see it to the other side? You know, it was almost like a barrier.
I think it was early, very, very in the beginning baby stages of my recovery, when I had days clean, when I was at a treatment center, and we came outside to stand on the patio and get a little fresh air and smoke cigarettes and whatever girls did that were trying to kick. Just look at the guys downstairs.
Right. Hey.
I remember looking at the Atlanta skyline, and I just got this very distinct feeling that this city is going to know your name. And I thought, what crime did I commit? But I didn't understand where that came from, and I've always been a background kind of person. I love to be the number, 2. I like to be behind the, what's going on, and then, so I didn't understand that, and it really scared me. It really scared me, but even in detox, there were people that came to me with questions, and I really didn't have answers, but what I was willing to talk about it.
Well, it's been quite an evolution for you, and we know now that women do recover.
Women absolutely do recover.
So I know, what has your journey in recovery been like, and what has been the most prolific thing that has happened to you in recovery?
Having people who I didn't even feel like they knew me believe in me. And recovery for me was a foundation for life because I felt like I never had one. I grew up moving, I'm a military brat, and when I got here to Atlanta and I got clean and I got into, recovery program, and I realized that I was here for like a little bit over 2 years, I realized that I can't remember the last time I've been anywhere for 2 years, and so I knew this was home. And it took me a couple more years to realize that that's not what was making it feel like home. Was my time here, it was the people, the relationships that I was beginning to build with people. And letting people, I guess the biggest epiphany was people wanted to hear what I had to say. They were willing to listen to me and try to understand where I was coming from and feed me something back that said, I can relate to that. You're not crazy. You're not as lost as you think. You can do this. I've done it. And I was silent for such a big part of my life. And you guys let me talk, and it was a mistake.
No mistake at all. It's all God's will. And it is definitely proven to be the most important thing that has happened for us in our world is that you now have your voice. And, it's really important, too, to make that connection between how that has been, I would imagine, the foundation for everything else that's happened in your life.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about how important recovery is in the rest of your life?
Well, I know that I began to really seek out, substances to stop feeling what I was feeling probably before I got diagnosed, but I distinctly remember reaching for it instantly when I got diagnosed with HIV and I couldn't handle it. So going all the way to the bottom of my addiction, to living on the streets and flip-flops in the wintertime and, just living like an animal, and then coming back into society with a group of people that really loved me and really cared about whether or not I made it, and talking about what I felt. It led me to get help for all the things that I didn't even know what was wrong with me. So I appreciate being an addict, not because of what I had to go through, and not because of the choices that, I made that hurt and that hurt my family members and hurt, my community and society in general. Not because of that, but because it molded something in me that said no matter what you've gone through in your life, you can come out of it. No matter how destitute you feel, you can have this feeling of abundance. And it all occurs when you communicate, when you talk about where you are, and you let other people have some input into your life.
Wow.
And then you give it back.
Wow. Wow. Well, you most certainly are giving it back. And the recovery has really just overblown, overgrown into every aspect of your life. And it surely looks beautiful on you. So we really do appreciate you. And we appreciate the offering. The book is called
From the Crack House to the White House.
And it will be out hopefully sometime. It'll be out by the time you see this.
It will be out around me.
Okay. And you have had an opportunity to hear more about the personality behind the book, From the Crack House to the White House, right here on Rise, the multimedia magazine. I'm your host, Reggie Smith. Thank you, Denise Stokes.
Thank you so much.
All right.
It's funny how money changes situation. Miscommunication lead to complication. My emancipation don't fit your equation. I was on the humble, you on every station.